We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Tuesday. I'm still in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, the south side of Savannah. Yesterday, we went off to Tybee Island, which is something we love doing. It's a beautiful beach area. We looked at the North Beach and we looked at the South Beach and hung out and did some sightseeing, which is weird because we come to Tybee Island every time we come down. So we're very familiar. But anyway, we're having a good time and trying to keep up with our other things like my TikToks and the podcast and all that stuff while relaxing. People always will come to my page and say, you spend all day thinking about Donald Trump doing TikToks and podcast. And that's not really true. It's really not. Um, I did 4 TikToks yesterday. Total time in doing that was maybe an hour to do it. Long as I have ideas in mind, it maybe takes an hour. And then we do the podcast, and it probably takes an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if I have to do some extra stuff after the fact. So in a whole day, at most, I spend 3 hours. Now, that's not to say I don't listen to news or just check it from time to time, but that's not really working. I would do that anyway. So I don't spend all day doing this. This is something that is an avocation as opposed to a vocation. And since I enjoy doing it, it's kind of a enjoyable hobby. Anyhow, it's a little different when you're on the road because I'm dealing with different equipment here. First, it was a little rough. Now we've gotten it a little bit better, so that helps. But we're having a good time. We're going to be here till Thursday morning. We leave, go back to Minnesota, and by Friday, the podcast will be coming directly from my home in Minnesota. I've had a couple of people reach out to me about being on the show, which we can do even from here in Georgia. But the fact of the matter is the time zone's different. In Minnesota, I'm in the central time zone, kind of in the middle of things. Here, I'm in the Eastern time zone. Trying to set everything up under those terms is a little more difficult. But I know Eric and some other folks, maybe Old Soul coming on Thursday, I'm hoping. We'll see what's going to happen with that. Being away from my normal confines, sometimes it's a little more complex. We've got a bunch of emails, so that's always good news. I love hearing from the folks and having your input. I wanted to talk about something, though, because I'm hearing this getting more and more coverage. There's talk, rumors, conspiracy theories, maybe that's what they are. People saying, the Democrats are trying to find a way to get rid of Joe Biden as the candidate. And they're looking to put somebody else in there. And the reason they're doing that is because they're afraid he's going to lose to Donald Trump. I just have to laugh at that. There are people, Democrats, who will come to my page and believe that bullshit. But again, it's like something we talked about before. You have to try to find out where the origin of these claims and these conspiracy theories are. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be from the Republican Party. I mean, let's be honest. Joe Biden's not in it at all in trouble when it comes to the election in November, as far as I'm concerned. Donald Trump can't beat Joe Biden. So what would be the point with 4 or 5 months left before the election to dump Joe Biden after all that we've been through? It's absolutely ridiculous. There are no Democrats wanting to do that. Well, there may be Democrats that want to do it, but nobody's seriously planning doing it. It's just absolutely stupid. Why would you wait 3, 4 months before the election and then try to prime somebody else to be your candidate when you've got a sitting president who's been highly successful and will beat Donald Trump like he did in 2020? The whole concept is ridiculous. Now, the Republicans are doing this for one very important reason. It's the same reason they do everything. It's to create chaos or uncertainty in the mix. They'd love to see Joe Biden drop out. That's why they're talking this way. They don't see Donald Trump winning against Joe Biden. So they'd like to see him drop out. They do everything they can to taint him, to discredit him, and none of it's really worked. So when I start hearing people talk about this whole concept, it frustrates me because I get tired of people buying into bullshit. It's clearly bullshit. Democrats aren't going to try to pull Joe Biden out at the last minute and put somebody else in. That's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no logical sense. This is the Republicans trying to stir some things up, as they do with everything else. And as I've told you before, I'm tired of people believing the bullshit. Just because you hear it on the media, in the media or in the ether, doesn't mean it's true. And chances are it's come from the Republican Party one way or another. And if it's come from there, you can be guaranteed that it's not true. So stop it. Fucking stop it right now. All right, we have a bunch of emails, so let's get to it. First one says, hello, Boomer. Wait, now I'm comfortable. I'm getting very sleepy. Now hypnotize me, damn it. Your sessions are worth the price of admission. Bill me later. Well, they are worth the price of admission because it's free. That's the one thing you'll never have to worry about with the Rational Boomer stuff. I know other people do it, and I'm not shaming them for it because that's their business. But I've always, people say, you should put something on Patreon and make people pay for this. Why would I do that? I give you everything I have here. I got nothing left to charge you for. And then why would I charge you? My goal is to be inclusive and get as many people listening as possible. You start charging for shit, that means you start restricting who's coming to listen. I'd rather have big quantities of people than a bunch of money coming in. And frankly, I just don't buy that shit. I'm here to give information, not to grift you for money. I'll talk to you about people who grift you for money. And I'm not suggesting people that put things on Patreon are grifting you. I mean, if it's something valuable to you and you want to pay for it, God bless you. God bless them. It's just not what I'm going to do. All right. The email goes on. I suppose you heard about MTG presenting a bill to fund space lasers. No, I didn't. The above link is the short take on it. My response, MTG wants our government to fund space lasers. What about the deficit? What a dingbat. Trump contagion infection is spreading. Look up the Georgia Guidestones and Candace Taylor. North Georgia is a hotbed of weirdos, just to get that off my chest. Yeah, I've heard about those Georgia Guidestones. I think they ultimately found out it was a hoax. All right, it continues. You had two gracious listeners to mention two of my comments. One was about a comment on Aileen Cannon. The other is about urging you, Abe and or Ed, to dedicate a show about everything Biden has accomplished over 4 years and why it's important for Gen Xers to understand how imperative it is for them not to vote for a third party or for Trump. The next two elections after 2024 is going to be Gen X running the country. That is, if Trump doesn't ruin it for them with a dictatorship. That will rob them of their birthright. They have to think about the damage, not only to the country, but to them as rightful heirs to the presidency and government. They can change things in a humanitarian sense only if they make it to the election process. They're young, but will learn as age is wisdom. For now, they need guidance. Both of your listeners took the time to respond to my comments. I wasn't in a position to write down her name, who promotes Biden's accomplishments, or the listener's response about Aileen Cannon when you mentioned it. I'm trying to go back and recapture them as time permits. I just wanted to say thank you to them for your response, and of course to you for all your rational wisdom that you impart. For your information, a dictator does not need a VP or a Supreme Court. If Trump chooses one, you're absolutely right. They will have to be the evilest of evil or the dumbest of dimwits. He'll never take on anybody that's smart because they will run him over and take it all away because he's a whiny ass coward. Trump is not his base's favorite golden child. He's their puppet. Reminds me of Strom Thurmond. He could hardly stand up during his last years, but South Carolina politicians used him to get what they wanted done as long as he was still breathing. Now, you talk to me about how old Strom Thurmond was and stayed in office. At least Joe Biden can walk to whatever he's going to go. I was listening to your TikTok live last night. Too bad about the MAGA children. All they know how to do is disrupt. If they had an IQ, it would be below infantile. Never confuse infantile corruption with intelligence. Thanks again for beating the drum all day, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Very wise perceptions there, and I appreciate that immensely. Next one starts out, hi, Boomer. Now I'm 100% sure about two things. Number one, Judge Juan Marchand will sentence Trump to some amount of jail and prison time for contempt and 34 convictions, respectively. I know this because I've watched Marchand operate as a jurist. He's extremely competent, and he has no other choice in the name of justice. Number two, Trump will not be remanded to prison immediately on July 11th. I know this because I have at least some fucking pattern recognition skills, and they just won't do that. Zero chance. Now, Big Boomer, if point two qualifies as me as being a whiny ass bitch, then I'm sure you'll gladly give me 5-1 on it. No, I don't disagree with you. If he's sentenced to jail, he'll probably get a stay pending on appeal, like most other people do, especially people that happen to be rich and former presidents. Now, I agree with you there. The only thing I would add is, and I'm not even sure if it's feasible or possible, the only thing I'm thinking Marchand could do is say, okay, for the 34 counts, we're going to sentence you to a year in jail. Then go ahead and appeal it, and you have a stay until the appeal is over. Okay, that's done. But what about the gag order violations? He violated it 13 times. Some of them he paid a fine on, but the rest of them he has not been sentenced on. And what I'm wondering, is it conceivable that when he lays down the sentence, whatever it may be, if he doesn't add to that, oh, by the way, the gag order, you broke it, you continually broke it, you disrespected the court, so I'm going to put you in jail for a couple, 3 days, which he won't be able to appeal. I'm just wondering and maybe hoping that that would be the case. Now, if that happens, then it's hard to say how this bet goes. For what you're saying, I agree with you, but I'm hoping against hope that he does get a couple of days in jail anyway for his transgressions when it came to the gag order. We'll see. I don't honestly know. And he goes on to say, if Trump gets cuffed on January 11th, I'll send you $100 bill. I'm told it's got Ben Franklin's smiling face on it. Now, you know how I'm looking at this. As far as the 34 counts, I agree with you. The gag violations, I don't know. I don't know, because so he could theoretically get cuffed and sent away for a couple days. But I think you're right. The chances of that are slim, pretty slim. Now, the email goes on, if he doesn't get cuffed and jailed on that day, then you send me $20. That's enough to get a good cheeseburger and orange soda up in town. Best garage door, Jeff. Now, you're setting me up for a bet, and I told you that I agree with you. I've never said that I didn't agree with you, unless we get something with the gag order. But I'll play the game. I've wasted $20 in worst ways today. All right. Of course, as always, Garage Door Jeff has a PS. Big Boomer reminds me of the Big Bopper, which reminds me of a kid swimming in Chubby Checkers pool. We used to mow the fields at a hippie farm next door, and they invited me over for a nice swim one hot summer day. In 1963, the same farm was the site of the first Philadelphia Folk Festival, which continues to this day. Nice. All right, next one. Hello, Boomer Mike. I have not written recently, but I'm still a daily listener. I also love your Not a podcast, as I don't always catch all the TikToks and enjoy hearing them all in one place. When I was listening to your live yesterday, I was thinking about the upcoming debate and the discussion about if Trump will actually show up. Well, I have a feeling that he won't show. However, I would love for Biden to show up and debate an empty chair. It would be great, and we wouldn't actually have to listen to Dirty Diaper Donnie. In another subject, I like your approach to all of the people who fear a Trump win in November. Facts only and bury the emotions. It reminds me of the psychologist Dr. Ellis you had on your show, whose husband, the famous Dr. Albert Ellis, pioneered rational emotive therapy to treat mental health disorders. I use this type of therapy during my many years as a psychologist at a community mental health center in the wine country of the Finger Lakes in central New York. Thanks again for your daily dose of sanity, Gary, the oldest boomer. Well, thank you, Gary. It's been a while since we heard from you, but it's nice to hear from you now. All right, this will be a good one. This one comes from Chuck. He said, Mike, hello. Do you know anything about the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025? It's really unbelievable. These people can't be for real. Mike, keep up the great work you do, Chuck. Yeah, we've talked about Project 2025 and my particular disdain for it. It is crazy. Anybody who reads it and comprehends it would have to grimace or wince at what they're trying to say. I mean, it's saying the quiet part out loud. Let's all be fascists. When I don't go into depth about Project 2025 because I look at it as a scare tactic. Much like what we were talking about when they start saying, yeah, Joe Biden's going to be taken out by the Democrats. That's bullshit. Project 2025 may or may not be bullshit. There's so many things to this. It's like people talk about it like it's imminent. First of all, if Donald Trump doesn't win, it's not a thing. They probably abandoned the whole concept because it's been nothing but a failure. But let's say that Donald Trump does get to be the president, and he starts talking about implementing Project 2025. Now, if he's a dictator, maybe he can, but he's not going to get elected. And if he does get in order to do something like that, you really need to have control of the House and the Senate. And that's just not going to happen. My problem with Project 2025, people keep throwing it out there. Oh, we got to be scared. We got to be worried. This is their plans. This is a manifesto made up by dipshits. Just because it's written down doesn't make it powerful. Does it surprise you that they espouse these things in Project 2025? This isn't anything we don't already know. And it goes back to what I said. This is coming directly from the Republicans. And what are Democrats doing? Some Democrats. They're frightened. They're scared. And that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to be terrified because they're bullies. And that's their only real strategy. They can't beat you on substance, facts, or policy or anything like that. So they're going to scare you to try to get you to back down. And this is the time when you don't fucking back down. By me going and reading the whole Project 2025, it's a scare tactic that the Republicans want. And I don't work for the fucking Republicans. I don't want to help the Republicans. I won't help the Republicans. And I'm not worried about Project 2025 because in order to do that, they'd have to have Donald Trump win the election and take control of the House and Senate. Just not going to happen. It's not a thing. What if this happens? Well, what if it doesn't? What if there's no chance of that happening? Then why do we talk about it? Why do we waste our time worrying about something, first of all, that we can't control? Second of all, that's never going to fucking happen. This is the time we need to be strong and aggressive and assertive and push back. We've got them on the run now. Let's put them out of their misery. All right, the next one comes from Billy. He said, Mike, thanks for adding your TikToks to the audio podcast. I listen to you twice a day. We are like-minded and are thinking about Trump having no chance to win. I probably wouldn't be as hard on folks that are worried that Trump might win. Some people are worriers. Billy. Yeah, we've talked about that before. You know, the people that I'm hard on, honestly, I think they're almost doing it on purpose because they know what my reaction will be. And I'm not saying they're doing that in the mean way. They want to hear that because I think they think other people need to hear it too. I am hard on them, not because I don't like them or I think they're dumb or anything like that. It's because we're in an actual war and we don't need that kind of attitude. Like I say, we need strength and we need to fight back. But the funny thing is, Z-Man and Chuck, I've given them both a lot of shit. And I've always said, you know what? That's just how it works sometimes. We bust balls, we give each other shit, and I think we're still cool. And both of them have pretty much acknowledged that. So while it may be uncomfortable when I do that, I think it's important that you understand how important it is that we don't back off, back down, and become wimpy about this. This is what we've done for decades. This is why we are where we are right now, is because we've been pussy ass bitches. Time is to stop that shit. All right. The next one says, Hi, Mike. I have an important message for all Republicans out there with the conviction of Hunter Biden. How can the Democrats look at themselves in the mirror and not see that it is fake news, a hoax, a witch hunt? True Republicans know that it's not real. The laptop thing was real, but it's not real anymore. The drug was real, but not anymore. The gun was real, but not anymore. Idiot James Comer witness was real, but now it's not anymore. And Hunter Biden is not Joe Biden's real son. He is just some actor paid by Democrats to make them look good. Real Republicans know that the Democrats are using lies and deceptions to make their bids. But Republicans are way better than Democrats at lying and deceiving, and the entire country will realize that soon enough, that we need only the best of the best liars and con people to run this country. That makes so much sense. Think about it. Go MAGA. And I'll give you one guess who wrote that. That's right, Panzer. Panzer with his tongue firmly planted in cheek, for those of you that didn't catch that. All right. Next one says, Hey, Mike, did you hear that both parties have agreed to terms for the first debate? I'm actually shocked. I thought Dirty Diaper Donnie would surely back out. Let's face it, that would have been the smart thing to do, but no sane, rational person ever considered anything the orange turd did as smart. Well, see, here's the thing about Joe Biden. Joe Biden knows who he's dealing with. He knows what he's dealing with. Donald Trump suggested the debate before Joe Biden ever did. And then when Joe Biden accepted it, probably surprising Donald Trump, he taunted him a bit. And that's the worst thing you can do to Donald Trump because it hurts his sensibilities. It hurts his pride. And when you hurt his pride, he just reacts. He's emotional. He's reactionary. So now he took these terms and accepted them, ill-advised as they might be for him. But yeah, he's saying he's going to walk into this and follow the terms. We have another story later, and I don't think he's going to follow the terms, but he's not going to be effective because they'll turn his mic off. And the less he follows the rules, the bigger fool he'll appear. Email goes on and says, still someone in his inner circle has been telling him this is a bad idea. It's much better to look like a coward than to prove to the entire world that you're an idiot who's losing whatever few marbles he ever had. This reminds me of the old Mark Twain expression. It's better to remain quiet and appear foolish than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Funny thing is, this is exactly what you get when encountering a narcissist who actually believes he's smarter than everyone else. No one can convince him otherwise. He actually thinks he can do this. That's very good news for the rest of us. I understand MAGA is too far gone to be embarrassed by what's going to happen in the debate, but whatever old school Republicans who still remain on his side simply because they have to vote along party lines are going to be scared away. I don't disagree with you. Another thing, you mentioned his ploy about throwing the first debate. Does that mean there's a modicum of doubt in his dilapidated brain that he can do this? That would seriously surprise me. But even if he does understand what he's attempting, what he's going to do about the second debate when his blind sheep expect him to be on an A game that doesn't exist. I don't know, Mike. This shit used to be disturbing, but now I'm taking a certain draconian pleasure in watching it unfold. Keep up the great work, Philly Paul. Well, thank you, Philly Paul. And I agree with you. I think what happened is he painted himself in a corner, and either way he goes, he loses. I think that's what he's realizing right now. I think you're right. I think in his narcissistic, delusional mind, he thinks he's going to come in there and put on a show and come out victorious. And the fact is, when he's made to look like a fool, he will still say he was victorious. In his own mind, he will still be a success. But as you say, the rest of the country will see him for what he is, an absolute loser. And that's why I hope he does show up to the debate, because if we've got people strictly watching Fox News all the time, there's a lot of things about Donald Trump they don't see. They never see it. But when the debate is up there, everybody will get the same live footage and they will all see what is true. And maybe some Fox News, OAN News, and Newsmax watchers will get a taste of who Donald Trump truly is and how diminished he truly is. Somebody just sent this note, and this is a story we'll talk about more too. It says, will Trump Hail Mary pass of no tax on tips switch fence sitters or bring out voters who plan to stay home? Should Biden intercept or deflect? Will dilute some of the criminal case news. Yeah, this is a weak flailing attempt. He was in Las Vegas, and he tried to get service workers on his side by saying, we're not going to make you pay taxes on tips. First of all, to accomplish that, again, you need Congress on your side, and he's not going to have that even if he were president. Secondly, there are news reports out that we'll talk about later that show that it will cost this country maybe $250 billion if that happens. It's a bad idea. It's just something he pulled out of his ass to try to sway some people his way. Unfortunately, it hasn't been working. Donald Trump is dumb. He doesn't think things out. It's just all ridiculous. All right, the next one says, hey, Boomer, have you seen the clip of Kyle Clark interviewing Richard Holtorf in Colorado? He's the same young man that held Lauren Boebert's feet to the fire during the Colorado debates. I sat down and watched the full 46 minutes interview. I was recently in that state, and if this jerk could have had his way, there's a strong possibility an 18-year-old girl would no longer be with us. This is a bad guy. I encourage everyone to go to Next 9 News and watch the full interview. Kyle Clark asked him about calling a Democrat buckwheat on the House floor and why he objectified women. He's a horrible person, has no business in Congress. Anyway, people are playing a small clip of the interview with him fumbling the abortion question. Name a Republican who doesn't fumble that question. I transcribed the full abortion question and response. I have a single word to describe Richard Holtorf: hypocrite. Thanks for what you do. Okay, this is old soul, by the way. So I'm going to read this and see what you think. This one comes from Holtorf. This question is about abortion. This comes from the interviewer. This question is about abortion. You've talked openly about various women that you have impregnated and one who had an abortion. And you said on the floor of the House, quote, I respected her rights and actually gave her money to help her through her important critical time so she could live her best life. In the legislature, you have voted to limit abortion access for another woman, but you say that you respected your girlfriend's right to an abortion so that she could live her best life. If abortion was the best choice for your girlfriend, why try to deny that choice for other women? A politician, Richard Holtorf, says, so let me give you some context about the situation. Not answering the question, just diverting. Because I'm a pro-life Catholic and I believe everyone should choose life. Now, if you listen to my presentation on the House floor, did you listen to it? Interviewer says, I did. In fact, I just quoted from it. Richard says, okay, so what was the major theme? And what did I have to repeat? Probably 20 times. Kyle says, in fairness, and then he interrupts, of course, and says, let me help you. Oh, I thought you were asking me a question. And then Richard says, go ahead. Interviewer says, in fairness, your logic was a bit scattered in that speech. What I'm asking you about is the fact that you said that you respected your girlfriend's right to an abortion and then gave her money to help her through that important time in her life. Richard says, you did exactly what I did. You deflected. Yes, that's exactly what I did. Yet you tried to deny that to other women. I'm asking, why is an abortion good for your girlfriend but bad for other women? That's my question. Simple question. Politician, of course, deflects by saying, so you deflected, and you did a good job of it, by the way. So the major theme of that presentation, if you listen to it, and I want you to listen to it again, choose life 20 times. I said, choose life. Now there are times when that choice can't be made or it's complicated, particularly for the women. Okay, and I understand that. In that particular time, what were you doing when you were 20 years old and a junior in college? Well, you have to think about that a little bit. You probably had a girlfriend like I did. Perhaps you know, I found out that she was pregnant the week I deployed to military training in the summer. I think it was 1986. And guess what you do when you have military orders? You deploy. Oh, you're a veteran now, so it's okay to impregnate women and then pay for their abortion. Okay, I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, spent a month and a half there. Then I went to Fork Oak, California, and spent another month. And then I came back from military training to Fort Collins, Colorado, where I was attending as a student. Guess what? My girlfriend told me she did, which I asked her not to do. I said, Kyle, we'll figure this out when I get home. Let's figure this out. We can't figure this. We can figure this out. She had an abortion. Was that her choice? Yes. Did she have the right? Yes. Was it my choice? No. Then the reporter says, why did you seek to deny the choice that you said? And then Richard said, I didn't want that. Kyle said, that you said was best for your girlfriend's life. Just let me finish explaining. Why do you seek to deny other women? I don't. I don't. You have voted to restrict abortion access as a legislature. Well, I have, and I actually ran a bill. Kyle, did you know that? Tim Guyton and I ran a bill that the abortion after 22 weeks abortion should be illegal. That's what I'm referring to. That's the entire crux of the question, which you still have not answered. Why is it okay when you were the father? He goes on to say, it wasn't okay. It was okay. It wasn't okay. But you gave her the money and said it was for her best life. But it wasn't okay. I'm just reading your words. You have to listen very closely. Of course you do. Please. So let's get this out, okay? When I came back, she'd already made the decision. She'd already had the abortion. I wasn't even in the state when she had the abortion, Kyle. I wasn't there. I was in California. Kyle says, do you regret saying that you respect everyone's rights? I don't regret saying that. I regret nothing. I don't have any regrets. Do you regret saying that it was so she could live her best life? Do you regret saying that? And of course he says, can I finish what I'm saying? No, answer the motherfucking question. You have yet to do that. Do you regret saying that? Do you regret saying that your pay was so that she can live her best life? Can I please finish? I don't have any regrets in my life. Okay. But I want to finish the story. Kyle says, please. Okay, I don't have these regrets. So when she came to me and said she had an abortion, she was having trouble financially. What does a good person do? Try to help another person that's in trouble. You paid for an abortion that you're totally against. I added that. So I did give her the money. I helped her and we continued to date and try to salvage our relationship, which didn't work out. Oh, big surprise, because you're a piece of shit. But I absolutely did help her because that was the right, humane thing to do. You talked earlier about, humanity and being human first and being kind to people. That's what I did. And it was a very sad time in my life. Yeah, I'll bet it was. I bet you were broken up about it. I bet you were fucking relieved. 100%. It was terrible because now the son I could have had, I don't have. Maybe that young person could have grown up, be something very special. I don't know. Interviewer says, do you acknowledge the disconnect between saying that an abortion was the right for your girlfriend and her best life, but you sought to deny that access to other women. Do you see the disconnect? He says, I understand your point, but I don't feel the same way you do. Well, no, of course you don't. You're fucked up. I don't think we should be killing babies willy-nilly, I guess, unless you're the father. I don't think we should have in Colorado right now. I voted against it. You can see, heck, we debated for 26 hours on that bill. The bill is and was signed by the governor and is the most radical abortion bill in the United States of America up until the moment of birth. As a baby's coming out full term, now you can take its life. Is that fair? That's a lie. Does that baby not have any rights even coming out of the womb? Apparently not, because you can take the baby's life under Colorado abortion law. So that's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm a pro-life person. I think I should try to choose life every time. But there are expectations, and there are times when you need an abortion. Abortion is a medical procedure. Well, that's funny because there's so many of you fucks that think there is no exceptions. So this goes on for a while, and I'm tired of listening to this dumb fuck, to be perfectly honest with you. But Old Soul, thank you for that information. I did see the video, so I was familiar with the interview. This guy is a buffoon and a piece of shit. Um, and I just thank God no women in my life ended up married to that worthless piece of shit. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.